Hey everybody, this is Perch, out for a bit of a walk here, so you hear some birds and things in the background. It's always nice. And I don't know why, but whenever there's a video to be made touching on Warren Ellis, poor choice of wording, I understand, that I'm out for a walk. I don't know what it is, but the latest news and the thing that we're going to talk about a little bit is Image's statement. So throughout all of this, there's been what actually is going to happen, what actually can become from all of this. And it is well, let me get to Image's statement here. So basically, and I'm not going to recap the entire fuss that's going on with Warren Ellis. You know by now. If you don't know by now, you're coming in at a very weird time, and nothing I say to quickly recap it would make sense. But the latest is that there is a book by Warren Ellis, Ben Templesmith, and it is the continuation of Fell. So Fell was a series that started for a period of time. It's a very good book, actually. I enjoy it. And for that matter, I mean, here's something I want to get out here, because I'm watching people say things like, I can no longer say I like something that Warren Ellis did because of what I know that he has done. And I think this is one of those, your mileage may vary. So everybody may have a different point of view on it. They may see it differently. For me, if I enjoy something, if I enjoy a comic, and then later it comes out, something has happened, generally speaking, I can't retroactively go back and then stop liking the thing I like. I may dislike the creator, I may dislike the people involved, and I may be, at that point, I can't read it without thinking about this other thing, but it doesn't, I can't alter the past. So I liked Fell, and I'm curious to see Fell completed. Primarily, again, to be honest, because of Ben Templesmith. I think he's a great artist. I like what he does, and I'm anxious to see how that story concludes. He's more the draw for me than Warren Ellis, for that matter. But I like Next Wave. I thought that was a fun book, different. I liked The Batman's Grave. Actually, I thought that was a good book. There's been plenty of stuff that Ellis has done, particularly at Marvel, that I haven't really liked. I always thought it felt a little bit too inwardly smug, I say would be the way I'd put it. But if you found me 10 years ago, that's what I would say. That's the exact same thing. So anyway, they announced that they're going to continue Fell, and it's continue with Warren Ellis. And it led to a fervor, and it led to a lot of people kind of coming out angry that Warren Ellis had not made amends to some satisfaction point. We'll get more to that in a moment. And then the names started to grow. James Tynion, Scott Snyder weigh in, Scott McCloud also kind of throwing their lack of support behind Ellis, the best way to put it. And then the murmuring started to grow against Image, talking about Image being a problematic company, that you expect this out of Image. And it is interesting just how people, their opinions turn on a dime. So Amelia Clark has a comic coming out from Image called Mom. And it is, supposedly female empowerment. And lots of people were praising Image as being the only company brave enough. Some of these same exact people who, about a week and a half later, are saying, I always suspected Image has a track record of this kind of stuff. And it's like, oh, okay. I have to assume that either the people making these statements are idiots and are forgetting what they said just days earlier, or they have an incredible disdain and believe everyone else is an idiot and, can't remember things more than 2 days, in the past, which, I mean, I don't know. I did, today was the day that people seem to think that Secret Empire was a story about a heroic Nazi cap. And I don't even know. I don't even know what's going on anymore. So, but anyway, Image issues a statement after some silence. And this statement is chilling, and I'll explain why in a moment. So here it is. This week's Fell announcement was neither planned nor vetted, and was in fact premature. While finishing Warren Ellis and Ben Templesmith's Fell is something we've been looking forward to for years, Image Comics will not be working with Warren on anything further until he has made amends to the satisfaction of all involved. It is our sincere hope that the conversations that are beginning now will result in positive changes for everyone. Please visit somanyofus.com. The part that is, so basically, this statement is a conclusion to Warren Ellis and comics, certainly with Image. Because the problem is this, it's this sentence: until he has made amends to the satisfaction of all involved. And just speaking honestly, that's not remotely possible. The idea that you have a large number of people who believe they were wronged by Ellis, and by accounts, Ellis, again, a lot of people keep throwing around words like, well, did he commit crimes? No, he didn't commit crimes. Did he do something wrong? Yeah, he did do something wrong. Yes, they were consensual adults, but that gets, you get into the weeds very quickly on this entire issue, and it comes down to your belief. But I'll say, I don't think he acted appropriately. The challenge is, in this kind of situation, this becomes a it's weird that Image worded it this way. I'll put it this way, because unless this is kind of code for we're done with him forever, which I think it is, it makes Image look terrible, because it puts them in a position where they either have to stick with never hiring him again, which again is what I think is in their mind, or at some point they're going to have to justify or explain why he's getting new work when he hasn't gotten things resolved to the satisfaction of all involved. Because number one, how are these a large number of people who have different accounts, different voices, different problems with Warren Ellis? Do we think there's going to be a unification of all these people all agreeing that he has made amends and completed the journey or whatever it is? Do we think that moment is possible? I do not. Now, if Warren and the people involved want to go participate in that exercise, more power to them. But the idea that everybody involved is just going to jointly at some point go, all right, we're good. It's like, this isn't like watching the full series of Game of Thrones. It's not like the season ends and it's like, well, we watched it all. It's everybody's going to have their own take on this. And here's perhaps the other thing you won't hear other places, but from my standpoint, which is, should this be resolved to the satisfaction of all? Meaning, if you believe that this kind of behavior being, using kind of, that's why I keep going back to the problems are in the comic industry, the actual business, more than the person. Everybody wants to focus on Warren Ellis, which I find comical, because some of the people bitching out Warren Ellis on social media and being very, condemning him, including some of the most recent people giving statements, have their own accusations out there. I can't help but believe that some of the people who gave statements because they felt pressured to do so, because they know that there are rumors and comments about themselves, which there are. It doesn't take much digging to find that some of the people who are most aggressively against Warren Ellis here have their own scandals, or are creating them now. That's why I don't love to just see things repeat over and over and over. But right now, I don't see a lot of action to actually solve things in comics. I see this pointless path of one at a time going after someone who, yes, did something wrong, but how's this going to help nepotism hiring? How's this going to help people in the comic industry, suggesting or trading sex for work? This is a business where that's allowed to happen, rampantly. That's allowed to happen. And either the industry has to say, yep, we're good with this. This is, we don't want to give up our freedom to be able to hire who we want, however we want. Because the hiring and the assignment of creators on projects is often really, really dodgy. It is. So unless the people in the comic industry are willing to give that up, this is going to continue. And is the basics rule here that, hey, push the limit as far as you can and try not to offend the wrong people, because if you offend the wrong people, then they'll make a lot of noise and then you'll be kicked out. Who wants to work in an industry like that? That sounds terrible. And it is terrible. And whenever you have a business or a situation where the rules are constantly shifting around, or, kind of are applied inaccurately, or different people have different rules applied to them at different times, that's a business that has trouble. That's how you get these situations to occur. You need clear rules, you need clear standards people live to. And fundamentally, that's why this whole situation developed the way it did, because once upon a time, Warren Ellis was a rock star, was a celebrity, had the forums, everybody wanted to be Warren Ellis, and he was allowed to get away with this stuff from big names who are now turning around and saying, I don't agree with this. You watched it happen. You participated in it. The Warren Ellis forums are filled with people who are happily sucking up to this guy, knowing this was going on, because it was beneficial for their career to do so. Warren Ellis isn't a kingmaker anymore of creatives. And so apparently the rules can change. And what I'm pushing for, and it's funny because if you engage in this conversation on Twitter, and you shouldn't because it is a no-win situation for you, there's going to be somebody who's going to come around and take your words out of context to fight, because right now people are scrambling to get that virtue. They want to look good in responding to this situation. They don't want to actually deal with the problems. It's still out for everybody's clout as opposed to a solution. Well, my perspective is I would like a solution. I'd like for comics to stop hiring people off the cuff. I'd like for us to stop making deities out of certain comic creators because they're super cool at the time and letting them get away with all kinds of crap because, hey, they're in our crowd. I'd like to stop having private Slack groups and all these kinds of pieces that generate this kind of behavior. There are offices within comics of the big two, at Image and other places, where they maneuver to get their friends and their buddies and their people are sleeping with into comics, into business. And that kind of working around the system is what creates this. It's what creates a scenario where somebody can abuse that power. I'm not saying everybody should let Warren Ellis off the hook. To the contrary. But I think the problem needs to occur at the business. And what Image is basically saying here is, hey, until everybody is satisfied, we're not going to work with him again. Well, and nobody's ever going to be all they're never going to get 100% satisfaction, which means Image is either going to break their word or Ellis is done at Image. One or the other. And again, if this is a bad problem, why should everyone just get over it? We shouldn't, right? Maybe people should keep pushing until this kind of business practice stops. I mean, the mind-numbing part of this entire story is it peels back the curtain on how dysfunctional this business and this industry is. How rules, get applied to some and not others. It's childish to watch this. This is not how real businesses, real industries operate their business. Why is it? I mean, and here's the thing. This hasn't stopped. This isn't new. Warren Ellis was not the first person to come around and do this. We've seen other people. The hypocrisy of all this is Warren Ellis and people on the Ellis forums used to go at, creators back in the late 90s who were doing this same kind of thing. This is just like the circle of life. It just caught up to the wrong person. Already we're seeing people respond to Image's announcement saying, now do Brandon Graham. What about Rock Up Church? Have you apologized to Joshua Luna yet? This doesn't come to an end. Doing it one by one on social media is like the Spanish Inquisition. It's not solving any kind of root problem. And frankly, I don't think a lot of people in comics want the root problem solved. That's the ugly truth of it. I think people are very happy to have these lax rules that they can get around. I think people like the pseudo-celebrity nature of being able to slip in people that are their buddies into work. I think they like to have the power of being able to say, if you kiss up to me or do favors to me, be they sexual or otherwise, it could benefit your career. Too many people in comics like that. Unless you solve that, this is just the 2021 version. Take your bets for 2022. 2023? Who are we going to be at with 2024? At what point does Kyle Higgins come up? Okay, let's go after it. You're just going to go down a list of people. I mean, is that how we want it? Is that how anyone wants this? This all is absurd in a lot of ways, doing it this way. Again, not trying to solve the problems. Trying to solve the problems would be a good idea. That's not what's happening here. But Image's statement out here basically says this is a conclusion of Ellis at our company. And it's a laughable statement. Either they get to break their word or he's done. So, I mean, does it make anyone feel any better? Do all the people who were scolding Image now come around and applaud them and buy their comics, and Image takes a moment to look at the projects that they're authorizing and make sure there's a better standard for hiring and treatment of employees? That would be awesome. That won't happen. But, there you go. Anyway, let me know what you think of all this. Like and subscribe. I mean, why not? Thanks for listening.